Tom, a lot's been said of Justice Boone in the offseason, whether it's T. Will, Deke Adams, his teammates. It was hot take Monday for us yesterday. I feel like that he might lead Arkansas in sacks. What has Arkansas got in the Florida transfer that looks to be pretty prominent on the defensive line this year?
Yeah, well, good morning, guys. I guess there's a chance if Quincy Rhodes gets off to a big start and starts getting some double teams and chipping and stuff, that Justice could do that. But my money would be on Quincy at this point. But they need something out of Boone. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you look at what the other transfers like Talley, Philip Lee, Frank Mulipola, I haven't seen a move on any of those three guys who are all transfers. And, was Charleston Collins ready to contribute? Maybe. So I think they really need something out of Boone because if they don't, and you have to be creative and send 5 guys on their blitz or even 6, the teams are going to eventually exploit that and, dump it to their backs or just hit little flip routes to their tight ends and make you pay for sending the extra people. So they have got to feel somewhat confident that at times they can send 4 and get pressure on the quarterback, move him off his mark.
So, first scrimmage, fall camp happened this past Saturday. Apparently, Talon went off. Tom, anything else stand out from what you heard from Coach Pittman reacting to his team on Saturday?
Yeah, it was really a lot of things. Mike Washington had a huge game. I think he scored 3 touchdowns. He had a pass apparently like a little wheel route or something that a linebacker didn't track. It'd be a second-team linebacker who went unnamed yesterday, but didn't track him, and he turned that into a 62-yard gain, and then he scored a rushing touchdown. Then he did some more damage. So Mike Washington, probably one of the sensations of the summer and in camp for this team. And then, Monte Harrison, another couple of passes from K.J. Jackson today with the 2s. They certainly have some chemistry, and I would like to see that to the point where Monte gets, some more chemistry with the 1s. But anyway, I think we'll see more out of Monte this year, and apparently we're going to talk to Taylor Green and K.J. Jackson today, along with Bobby Petrino, so it should be a very enlightening day.
Tom, you mentioned Mike Washington, so like you said, he's had a good fall camp, he's had a good spring. I mean, they have just been talking him up all offseason. Braylon, not so much in the spring, apparently picked it up in fall. What are you kind of expecting from what you watched and listened to from Colby Smith and Pittman and Petrino in regards to kind of what the carries look like this upcoming season for those guys?
Yeah, well, they're not going to just tell you, we're going to go 40% this guy, 30% this guy. They're just not going to do that. It's always who's the hot hand in the game and all that. But what you see in Mike Washington is a guy who comes from upstate New York and has probably always been fighting that battle against, wasn't recruited highly enough, wound up at New Mexico State, wanted to show he can make it in the SEC. And they're saying speed, they're saying the physicality, and I can't wait to see him on the field. I hope he stays healthy because he has been the talk of this camp. And basically how you go about your work. They say he doesn't say a lot. He just works. And all your teammates see that. His team won. There were 10 summer captains, and his team that he captained won the overall summer conditioning deal. And that speaks volumes to him and basically leadership through a little bit of just showing it on the field and showing it in practice,
Tom Murphy with us, brought to you by the Arkansas Beef Council. You can read Tom's work at Whole Hog Sports or in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Heard from linebackers yesterday. One of the interesting things I think that came out of that time with the media is Stephen Dix Jr. was talking about this. They were talking about some of the younger players, but also crediting the chemistry built within the team. And was it bowling and paintball that they did together over the summer? Said was 2 of the better team building exercises.
Yeah, that did come up yesterday, and I think several position groups have done the bowling. I know at least a couple have done the paintball, but the linebackers took it even further and did one of those escape rooms. And that's just not physicality and bowling, skills that you equate with football. It's a little bit more mental, putting things together and, making associations. I've done some escape rooms. They're fun. So that was a little outside the box. But all those types of things, making your room bond like we heard with the running backs. We all love each other. And I don't know if that's 100%, because there's guys who are going to be eager to, win the reps that you're getting, and that kind of thing. But we do hear of really solid team unity with this squad. And I think Sam Pittman really realizes that when you're kind of in that underdog mentality, the closer you are as a team, the more you're a brotherhood and do for each other, the better chance you have of winning close games. And, it all plays into a winning or losing a game, winning or losing a drive or a play. And the tighter you are, the better chance you have of success.
Yeah. Trent Whalen and Andrew Harris, backup linebackers, they came up in the conversation. Stephen Dix was quick to praise those guys that are kind of in the second line behind him and Xavier Sorey.
He was. And, if you think back over the past 12, 15 years that I've been covering Arkansas football, they just haven't really gone super deep at linebacker. And so I'm curious to see, Bradley Shaw is clearly the third linebacker, and Travis Williams said they will have sets with three linebackers. So we know the first three, Sorey, Dix, and Shaw. Number 4 right now could be Andrew Harris and Whalen. When we see the backups come in against Alabama A&M in week 1, we're going to see those guys. And then Tavion Wallace, with the depth you have at linebacker, certainly you'd want to redshirt him, but you give him a look in that first game. It's kind of like last year with Pine Bluff. All the units got work in that game, and then you determine who you want to try to get in 4 games or more, or who you want to put on special teams and play all year. That's going to play a big role between who redshirts and who doesn't. But that's 6 deep at linebacker right there. And Wyatt Simmons, they say, is just really eager, coach's son, never stops. So, and that's 7 right there. And, I don't know if you'd be comfortable in the middle of an SEC game with Wallace and Simmons in the game, but they're trying to develop them up and to have depth, they need that.
Yeah. Let's flip sides of the line. I want to talk about the offensive line, the right side. I know there's some pretty good battles going on. They feel like they're set with Kittler at center, and the left side seems to be a little more settled at this point. What are you seeing through the scrimmage on Saturday? I know Kobe Branham's back in the mix, Amarian Harris. What's the battle at guard and tackle on the right side look at 18 days out?
Right. Well, judging from the last few days, Branham, the Fort Smith kid, has been running with the ones along with Amarian Harris. And it seems to me like Branham has gotten an edge right now over Keyshawn Blackstock at right guard, and Harris has an edge over McCroy, who's the largest human on that football team at 6'8", whatever his weight is. Super sized guy. So, he didn't play at Oregon, or he redshirted at Oregon, played minimally. We'll find out if they want to target him for redshirt or if they'll need him to play deeper. But Harris has looked pretty good. I watched him in the rep today, just really nullified Justice Boone on a passing rep during fastballs. But that's just one rep. But Harris has held his ground at right tackle.
Tom Murphy with us, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, stepping outside of the scope of what's going on in Fayetteville, AP Top 25 came out yesterday. I know that's something you're involved in. What did you make? Texas at 1, Penn State at 2. I think 10 SEC teams in this list. Anything stand out to you yesterday?
No, nothing super shocking. I voted Ohio State number 1. They're the defending champion, and they're going to have loads of talent. And I know they have questions at quarterback and maybe a few other spots, but they're really solid. They got enough veteran players that I felt, okay, they deserve to be number 1. I understand Texas, too, with, Arch Madness. So it'll all get sorted out early, right? Those two play each other. And there are numerous other, was it Clemson and LSU play? So we got a lot of we've got a lot of top games against ranked teams early on. They're going to start sorting things out.
Yeah, you think about Texas and Ohio State, as you referred to, Clemson and LSU, Alabama against Florida State. A lot of marquee games in this week 1 that I know people are excited for, not just to see Arkansas, but the other games as well. One of those teams, Tom, that finds itself in the top 25 is Oklahoma. They're dealing with some issues within the last 24 to 48 hours of John Mateer allegations of gambling, which in his description on Venmo, for those that haven't seen, he's got that he paid sports gambling to his friend or roommate or whoever between UCLA and USC. Tom, I know things can be fabricated, AI, various things nowadays, easy to Photoshop, but I mean, is this a situation worth monitoring in Norman with their quarterback?
Oh yeah, clearly worth monitoring, and the forensic examinations, I guess, will tell the tale on that one, and I'm not going to make any speculation as to what could happen because I know no particulars, but it would certainly impact Oklahoma's season if Mateer was to be held out some or suspended or what have you, because, when you lose Arnold and then, you based what you're going to do around Mateer, who's a great dual threat. I did not put Oklahoma in my top 25, and they have to prove it a little bit more to me. And the same with Tennessee. Now, I think Tennessee could play its way into my top 25 quite quickly, but I did not have either of those in my top 25.
Let me ask you about Tennessee then, because Arkansas didn't play Oklahoma, but Tennessee was a team I mentioned earlier that could be in danger of falling out of the top 25. Tom, why are you not an early believer 18 days out?
Yeah, I just got to see. I mean, they lost a good bit defensively. I got to see what happens at quarterback. And, in their system, they're going to put up some offensive numbers. They really dedicate to the run more than people think. And I don't know. It's just there's plenty of SEC teams to rank at this point, right? So we'll see what happens with them. And, like the Gators, they're coming off a 7-6 or whatever they were. A lot of hype around them, but they got to show a little more to me before they get ranked.
Yeah, they're 15th in this poll. So who did you have in your poll that let's go through this. The differences in your poll versus the way it came out, and maybe that team that would be a surprising entry on your ballot for a lot of people.
Well, the clear number one on that deal is BYU, which I think was just outside the top 25, and I had them about 11th. And I know they have a little unsettled issue at the quarterback slot. So, but I don't know. I enjoyed going out there to BYU, and they were strong, very strong last year. So to me, as the preseason poll is a total crapshoot. I also had Texas A&M higher than most teams. I just think they're a little bit of a sleeper. They went into the last week of the season. If they beat Texas, and it was a close game, they're in the SEC championship game. So with Marcel Reed coming back and a ton of returning experience, I think A&M might be a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah. Ole Miss at 21, Arkansas's first ranked opponent of the season. How did you feel in your poll about the Ole Miss Rebels?
I looked at that. I think I had them right around that spot. 20, 21, 22, somewhere in there. So I was pretty well on target with them. And then we haven't even talked about Missouri, which coming off of a great year. And I know they weren't ranked. I didn't rank them, but, with their easy schedule, they're probably going to wind up in the ranking.
So, if Arkansas went 4-0, beat Ole Miss, beat Memphis, obviously won the first two, would they be a ranked team perhaps when they play Notre Dame? I know that's a tough to answer question, but I'm just wondering what would it take to get Arkansas on the poll, or would they have to beat now ranked 21st Ole Miss and beat a 6th ranked Notre Dame team? That'd certainly put them in, but what would it take to get Arkansas on your ballot?
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I think if they go and beat a ranked Ole Miss team on the road in week 3, and they happen to be 3-0 at that point, I think they'd be in the poll right then. And then if you can hold on and beat Memphis, and you're 4-0, then certainly they'd be probably in the teens, I would think, with Notre Dame rolling in.
Interesting stuff. Oklahoma at 18. You mentioned you had them on the outside. Arkansas plays A&M, who's 19th in this poll. Brett Bielema's team's at 12 with Illinois. I thought that was eyebrow-raising, as well as SMU, who made the playoffs last year. They check in at 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had both of them ranked. I think Illinois is right around that spot, maybe 11 in my poll, and SMU about the same, right about where they were. So both teams coming off really good years. I mean, Brett knows how to build a team, particularly a Big Ten style of team. There just happened to be more physical teams in the SEC when he was here at Arkansas. But at his height in 2015, they won 9 games. Probably should have won 10 or 11 that year. You think back to Toledo, Mississippi State games. Yeah, could have won double digits that year.
Texas Tech, too.
Yeah, and they've spent a ton of money this year. Hey, Texas Tech, I was just thinking about them at the end of the poll and all the money they spent. They've got to be expecting more than their initial ranking, at least as the season unfolds. Just real quick, is this the hardest ballot you put together when you've got no information, all the transfers, or is just total crap? How do you approach this first one? Because I would think it would be one of the more difficult top 25s to put together when you have virtually no evidence to support anything.
Exactly. What I did is I pulled up every online poll that had already been released, and I just looked them over, read about certain teams. For instance, I had USC ranked, and they're out of the poll. It's like I said earlier, total crapshoot. I got to get this phone call, guys.
All right.
I love y'all.